Are you currently waging a secret war against a cupboard overflowing the croaky bar, a vaguely of sawdust? Or maybe you find yourself utterly captivated by the cultural phenomenon that is, well, the sudden ubiquity of cottage cheese.
It's fun to mention that. It truly is fascinating to watch these shifts, isn't it? What captures our attention and our wallets.
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone, to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're really getting into the latest insights from the Consumers 360 news commentary on consumers.app. This was from April 19th, 2025.
Right, and they cover such a huge range of topics, don't they? Food, sustainability, finance.
Exactly. Everything consumer-related. From the food we're eating, our environmental efforts, financial strategies, even the ingredients lurking in our beauty products.
It's like a snapshot of modern consumer life, really.
That's a perfect way to put it. So our mission today is to navigate all this information and pull out the really compelling stuff.
The aha moments, perhaps.
Precisely. The things that give you a clearer picture without feeling like you're reading, a textbook.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So where do we start this exploration?
Let's dive straight into something huge. Plastic pollution. Consumers 360 mentioned the Plastic Bank Initiative.
Yes, from Minef. That one stood out.
It seems like a really innovative approach, more than just standard recycling, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. What's really noteworthy is its dual mission. It's about tackling poverty and stopping plastic pollution.
How does that work exactly?
Well, the core idea is a global bottle deposit program. People in communities collect plastic waste, and they exchange it not just for money, which is immediate help, but also for access to social benefits, things like health insurance or school tuition.
Wow. So it connects environmental action with real social uplift. How do they keep it all straight? Transparent,
They use a blockchain-secured platform.
Blockchain, okay.
Yeah, so that gives traceability for the plastic, makes sure the collectors get paid securely, and provides verified reports on the impact. Then, the plastic itself gets processed and goes back into the circular economy as recycled material.
That's genuinely clever, linking environmental action to tangible benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not forget the scale of the problem itself. Consumers 360 mentioned Wikipedia's overview. It's pretty grim for the oceans.
It really is. Millions of tons entering the oceans every single year. And the impact on marine life is severe ingestion entanglement. It disrupts entire ecosystems.
And it comes back to us, right, through the food chain.
Exactly. Contaminated seafood is a real concern for human health.
Yeah.
And that projection, by 2050, potentially more plastic than fish by weight in the oceans, it's just sobering.
Really drives home the urgency. Now, the commentary also mentions some advancements in dealing with the plastic we already have.
Yes, some really promising stuff, particularly in selective upcycling using catalytic technology.
Catalytic technologies. Like
Yeah.
what?
Think thermocatalysis, electrocatalysis, photocatalysis. It's not just melting plastic down. It's more like activating specific chemical bonds in the waste plastic.
To do what?
To transform it with high precision into completely new, more valuable products. It's a key step towards a truly sustainable circular plastic economy, taking complex plastics apart molecularly and rebuilding them better.
So way beyond basic recycling.
Yeah,
More like chemical transformation.
precisely. And alongside that, there's this tool called the Plastics Hierarchy of Fates.
Hierarchy of fates. Sounds dramatic.
Maybe a little. But it's basically a structured way to analyze the different end-of-life pathways for plastics.
Okay, so a framework for understanding where plastic waste goes. How does that help?
By providing that clear structure, it helps everyone, manufacturers, policymakers, make better decisions about materials, product design, waste management, policy. It helps find the most environmentally sound and practical options.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about alternatives? Making plastic from something other than fossil fuels?
Oh, absolutely. Bioplastics are a huge area of research. One really interesting avenue is using amyloid fibrils.
Amyloid fibrils from what?
From food proteins, actually. Things like milk, soy, eggs. When you combine these fibrils with biodegradable polymers, you can create transparent, flexible films.
No kidding. So like food packaging made from milk proteins.
Potentially, yes. It's a fascinating possibility for sustainable packaging. Your breakfast could package your lunch, kind of thing.
That's wild. Okay, zooming out again, what's happening on the global policy front to tackle this?
There's definitely growing momentum. The Basel Convention amendments aim to stop irresponsible plastic waste exports, from developed to developing nations.
It's important.
And then the really big one, in March 2022, 175 countries pledged to create a legally binding global treaty by 2024 to end plastic pollution.
A legally binding treaty. That's huge. So how does this idea of the circular economy tie all these threads together?
The circular economy is really the foundational principle here. It's about more than just recycling. It's reducing reliance on virgin materials first, designing for durability and reuse, then keeping materials in the loop through effective recycling and, importantly, upcycling.
Minimizing waste from the start.
Exactly. Feeding valuable materials back into the system continuously.
Okay, complete shift now. From plastic woes to something maybe more delicious. Consumers 360 talked about America's protein obsession and the surprising comeback of cottage cheese. The Independent on MSN covered this. What's going on there?
Yeah, the cottage cheese renaissance. It seems to be a few things converging. First, it's had a major image makeover being pushed as this healthy, versatile food.
Right.
But maybe the biggest factor, social media, especially TikTok. During the pandemic, people were online looking for cooking ideas.
And cottage cheese recipes went viral.
Totally. Hashtags like hashtag TikTok food just exploded with creative ways to use it. It really shows how online trends can completely reshape our food choices.
So the internet gave it a second life. But are there real health benefits behind the hype?
Oh, definitely. Cottage cheese is naturally packed with nutrients. It's a great source of high-quality protein, plus calcium and B vitamins, all essential for bone health, muscle maintenance, metabolic function.
Right.
And some early studies hint it might help with feeling full, maybe even support cardiometabolic health things like blood sugar and cholesterol. But
more research needed.
Exactly. Especially high-quality human trials to really confirm those specific benefits.
How does it stack up against other dairy, nutritionally?
Well, it often comes out lower in calories and fat compared to many cheeses. And it's particularly high in casein protein.
Casein, what's special about that?
It digests slowly, so it can help you feel fuller for longer. That could be useful for weight management.
Interesting. And they're even innovating cottage cheese itself now.
Yes. Get this. Functional probiotic cottage cheese. They're fortifying it with things like bovine colostrum, rich in antibodies and probiotic bacteria.
Wow. So trying to boost his nutritional profile even further.
Precisely. The idea is to potentially enhance immune function, maybe offer antioxidant benefits, support gut health.
Sounds impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we need to keep a level head about the claims.
Absolutely. While these fortified versions sound promising based on initial studies, we really need those large-scale human trials to fully back up all the potential health benefits for both traditional and these new types.
Got it. Okay, let's switch again from what we put in our bodies to what we put on them. Consumers 360 mentioned beauty burnout and cosmetic allergies, referencing British Vogue. What are the common culprits in cosmetics?
Yeah, it's a real issue. The usual suspects are things like fragrance mixes, which can be complex blends, preservatives needed for shelf life, and various dyes for color.
And what do they do to skin?
They can trigger reactions, most commonly contact dermatitis. That means redness, itching, inflammation. And the tricky part is repeated exposure can actually make existing skin conditions worse, or even cause new sensitivities to develop over time.
Kind of ironic, isn't it? Products meant to make us look better, causing skin problems. The piece mentioned nail polish as an example.
Right. Nail polish history is a good illustration. Early versions had some pretty harsh stuff like toluene sulfonamide formaldehyde resin.
Yikes.
Yeah. Formulations are much better now, but new technologies bring new potential allergens like methacrylates in gel nails. Some people react to those. It's this constant evolution of identifying and managing risks.
Are scientists finding better ways to predict or deal with these allergies?
They are. There's more use of data now, things like text mining and sentiment analysis on social media.
So tracking what people are saying online about reactions.
Exactly. It helps spot potential allergens and track adverse reactions much faster. It gives manufacturers and regulators really valuable insights to improve formulas and labels.
Clever use of data. What about plant-based cosmetics? Are they automatically safer?
Research suggests they can potentially reduce allergy risks for some people. They tend to rely more on natural ingredients, avoid some harsher chemicals. It aligns with that consumer demand for cleaner beauty.
Makes sense. And what about natural dyes like cochineal?
Cochineal, the dye from insects. It's actually seen a resurgence because people are wary of artificial additives. But, and this is important, natural doesn't mean non-allergenic. Some people are still allergic to cochineal, even though it's natural.
Right. Natural doesn't equal hypoallergenic. Predicting these reactions seems tough. Any breakthroughs mentioned?
Well, it's interesting. There's been progress in predicting pollen allergy seasons using complex algorithms and environmental data.
Okay.
And the commentary suggested similar modeling might potentially be adapted for cosmetic allergies, analyzing usage patterns, ingredient interactions, maybe even environmental triggers for skin sensitivity. It's speculative, but intriguing.
Wow, allergy forecasting for cosmetics. That'd be something. So finally on this, what happens if ingredient labels aren't clear?
That's a huge problem for people with allergies. Inadequate or confusing labels mean they might accidentally use a product with something they react to. The reactions can range from mild irritation to really severe health issues.
So clear, transparent labeling is absolutely critical.
Absolutely essential. Strict regulations are needed so consumers can make safe choices.
Let's turn now to finances, specifically for older adults. Consumers 360 looked at how some Americans over 80 are managing, referencing Insider on MSN.com. It seems working is still part of the picture for some.
Yes, it's definitely a reality for a segment of the over 80 population. Many continue to work, often part-time, to supplement their Social Security income.
What kinds of jobs?
It varies, but sometimes they can be quite physically demanding, even if part-time. It helps them cover costs and maintain some financial independence.
But working in your 80s, especially physical jobs, there must be risks.
Oh, absolutely. There's a higher risk of injuries like musculoskeletal issues, also increased stress, and just general health challenges. As we age, our bodies don't regenerate as quickly, so recovery takes longer too.
It's a tough reality. The commentary also touched on nutrition for seniors.
Yes, super important. A balanced diet is key. Enough protein for muscle mass, calcium and vitamin D for bones, fiber for digestion, hydration too, and watching sodium and sugar. It's all crucial for healthy aging.
There was a mention of something called ACTA, a mobile health solution.
Right, ACTA. It's designed specifically for seniors with mild cognitive impairments. It uses things like nudge theory, neurofeedback, and machine learning to deliver personalized cognitive and motor exercises through an app.
So, like brain training on your phone.
Essentially, yes. The goal is to help maintain cognitive function, promote independence, and keep seniors engaged.
Sounds valuable. Did the pandemic affect seniors in technology in specific ways?
It really highlighted the digital divide. Many older adults struggled to access or use technology like telehealth or even just online communication.
Leading to isolation.
Sadly, yes, for some, and difficulty accessing services. It showed a real need for more accessible, user-friendly tech designed for seniors.
Got it. And Perch Essence, what was that about?
That's an interesting one. Early research suggests perch essence, an extract rich in certain amino acids and peptides, might help older adults.
How?
By potentially improving body weight maintenance, supporting muscle mass, and boosting strength. It seems to work partly by slowing protein breakdown and reducing oxidative stress, which contribute to age-related muscle loss.
Okay. And lastly here, automated wellness analysis in care centers. Why is that needed?
Well, with the population aging, care centers need efficient ways to provide high-quality care. These automated systems use sensors and AI to monitor residents' well-being, physical and mental.
Continuously.
Yeah, providing objective data to caregivers, helps personalize care, spot health issues early, and just manage health better overall.
Okay, let's heat things up literally. Cooking oils. Consumers 360, citing Science Alert, raised concerns about a link between some oils and cancer risk. What are the main risks?
The big concern is using certain oils repeatedly or heating them too high. When oils break down, they can release harmful compounds like acrylamide and aldehydes.
And those are linked to cancer.
They're considered possible or probable carcinogens, yes. Some oils, corn oil was mentioned as an example, are more prone to this when overheated past their smoke point. These compounds cause oxidative stress and inflammation, which are known cancer risk factors.
So it's not just the oil, but how you cook with it.
Exactly. The method matters a lot. High-temperature frying is generally riskier than, say, stir-frying at moderate heat. Using oils with higher smoke points and keeping temps below that point helps minimize those harmful compounds.
There was also a study mentioned about cooking emissions affecting air quality.
Yes, a recent study found potentially carcinogenic nitrosamines in the air from cooking emissions, particularly indoors and especially in winter when ventilation might be lower.
Nitrosamines, those sound bad.
They are recognized carcinogens. When formed during high heat cooking and released into the air, they can be inhaled. Finding them elevated in indoor air is pretty significant from a public health perspective.
Are there official guidelines on using cooking oil safely?
Yes, bodies like the FDA and WHO offer advice. Generally, don't overheat oils, choose higher smoke point oils for high heat, use fresh oil for frying, don't reuse it endlessly, and make sure your kitchen is well ventilated.
So what practical things can people do at home?
Simple things, really. Use oils like avocado or coconut oil for high heat. Try baking, steaming, or grilling more often as they use lower temps. And definitely use your exhaust fan or open a window when cooking.
Does the specific type of oil matter most?
It matters a lot for high heat cooking. Oils with lower smoke points break down easily. Oils like refined olive oil or avocado oil are more stable at higher temperatures, making them generally safer choices for those methods.
Right. Okay, let's shift focus to communities now. Consumers 360 discussed Chinatown struggling economically due to trade tariffs, citing USA Today. How are tariffs hitting them?
It's putting a real strain on them. Many Chinatown businesses rely heavily on importing goods central to Chinese culture. Tariffs increase the cost of these goods directly, squeezing already thin margins.
And it's not just tariffs.
No, it's often compounded by other issues, loss of other businesses in the area, rising rents, gentrification pressures. It's a complex mix.
Chinatowns have such a rich history in the U.S. Can you give us a quick overview?
Sure. They largely started in the 19th century as vital hubs for Chinese immigrants. They faced incredible discrimination like the Chinese Exclusion Act, but despite that, they survived and became these vibrant centers of culture, business, and community life.
How do tariffs create these broader network effects that hurt local places like Chinatowns?
Well, tariffs disrupt global trade flows. If goods from country A get tariffed, businesses might stop importing them, or they might switch to suppliers in country B. That's trade diversion. This reshuffles supply chains and often means higher costs for businesses and consumers in places like Chinatowns that depended on those specific, previously affordable imports.
So it ripples outwards. It's not just the price tag on the import.
Exactly. Tariffs affect overall consumer prices, economic complexity. They shift demand. It creates uncertainty and can lead to inflation depending on how things play out.
The piece mentioned a parallel with China joining the WTO and health impacts. What's the connection?
Studies found that after China joined the WTO, some regions facing trade shocks saw negative health effects on residents, linked to things like migration stress, longer working hours, increased pollution.
So the idea is that economic shocks from tariffs could have similar ripple effects on well-being in Chinatowns.
It's a potential parallel, yes. Economic stress can definitely impact community health and well-being.
Have studies looked at how communities adapt to these kinds of trade changes?
Yes. There's research on adjustment costs from trade liberalization in different sectors. They look at impacts on jobs, revenue, social welfare. These studies can offer insights into potential shifts and maybe adaptation strategies for businesses in Chinatowns dealing with tariff pressures now.
So what could those adaptation strategies look like for Chinatown businesses?
Diversifying what they sell, maybe? Reducing reliance on heavily tariffed goods. Finding alternative suppliers from different regions, really leaning into cultural tourism to attract locals and visitors, and also looking into community initiatives or policy support to help cushion the blow.
Okay, let's talk banking basics. Business versus personal checking accounts. Consumers 360 covered this, referencing AOL. What are the main differences?
The core difference is the features. Business accounts are built for organizational needs. Think things like controls for employee access, stronger fraud protection tools designed for business transactions, and easier integration with payment systems and accounting software.
Things you generally don't need for personal banking.
Right. And these features tie into financial transparency, too. When a business account is linked with good business process management systems, it really helps track all financial activity meticulously.
Which is important for regulations.
Crucial for internal management, yes, but also for showing compliance with financial rules, data privacy reporting, all that.
What about actual checks? Are people still using them?
The trend is definitely away from paper checks. Electronic payments, debit, credit, digital platforms are just way more common now in most places.
So if everything's going digital, why does a small business still need a separate business account?
Several reasons. They usually handle more transactions. It makes payroll easier. It keeps business expenses clearly separate from personal ones vital for taxes. And that integration with accounting software is a huge time saver and accuracy booster.
Do businesses analyze their account activity in specific ways?
Yes, financial ratios are common, using account data and other records to gauge financial health. But it's important how those ratios are calculated. Different methods can give different pictures, so context is key.
How has tech changed these accounts?
Massively. Online banking access, automating payments, getting real-time fraud alerts, mobile banking. It's all made managing business finances much more efficient and secure.
And for someone just starting a business, what's the number one reason for getting that separate account?
Separation. Absolutely critical to keep personal and business finances distinct from day one. It makes bookkeeping manageable, taxes easier, and gives a clear view of cash flow. Essential for survival and growth.
All right, back to health allergies again. Consumers 360 shared tips from an expert via Medical Express. Let's talk nasal sprays, Flonase, Nasacort. What are they and how do they work for seasonal allergies?
Right. Those are common ones. They usually contain either corticosteroids like Flonase or antihistamines. The steroid sprays work by reducing inflammation in your nasal passages. That helps with congestion, runny nose, that sort of thing.
And the antihistamine ones?
They directly block histamine, which is the chemical your body releases during an allergic reaction that causes itching, sneezing, and a runny nose.
How common is hay fever, actually?
Pretty common. Allergic rhinitis affects maybe 10 to 30% of adults in the U.S. each year. Common triggers are pollen trees, grass, weeds, but also indoor stuff like pet dander, dust mites, mold.
It's an inflammation response, basically.
Exactly. Your nose's lining gets inflamed from these allergens, and IgE antibodies are key players in that.
Explain the IgE role again.
Okay, so when you're first exposed to an allergen, if you're susceptible, your immune system makes specific IgE antibodies. These antibodies stick to immune cells called mast cells.
Okay.
Then, the next time you encounter that same allergen, it binds to those IgE antibodies on the mast cells, triggering them to release histamine and other chemicals. And that's what causes the itchy eyes, sneezing, runny nose, the allergy symptoms.
Got it. Is research moving forward on treating allergic rhinitis?
Oh, yes. There's a lot of focus on understanding the genetics and environmental factors involved. This is leading to more targeted therapies. Also, biologics drugs designed to block specific molecules in that allergic cascade are showing promise for severe cases.
Commentary also mentioned histamine intolerance. How's that different?
It's not a typical allergy involving IgE. Histamine intolerance is when your body has trouble breaking down histamine, either from food or produced internally. So histamine builds up and causes symptoms that can look like allergies, hives, headaches, gut issues. Management is often dietary changes, plus maybe antihistamines.
Are there other allergy risks people should know about, maybe in medical settings?
Yes, hypersensitivity reactions can happen. Anaphylaxis is the severe form. For instance, parenteral nutrition IV feeding can sometimes trigger reactions in allergic individuals because of components in the nutrient solution. So careful screening is vital.
And finally, on allergies, how much does our environment matter? And what can we do?
Environment is huge. Pollen counts, indoor allergens like dust mites, even air pollution can trigger or worsen allergies. Prevention involves minimizing exposure, stay indoors on high pollen days, use HEPA filters, keep homes clean. Then there are medications and immunotherapy allergy shots or tablets for management.
Okay, penultimate topic, groceries. Consumers 360 and CBS News reported on rising prices. What's still driving this?
It's still a mix of factors. Lingering supply chain issues from the pandemic, rising production costs, fertilizer, fuel, labor, and just general inflation tied to broader economic stuff and geopolitical events. And the price hikes aren't uniform. They vary quite a bit by city or region.
The USDA had a forecast. How does that compare to what we're seeing?
Their latest forecast was around 3.2% overall food price increase, maybe 2.7% for groceries. Historically speaking, that's actually kind of moderate compared to some past spikes.
Moderate, but still noticeable in the budget.
Absolutely. Even moderate increases force people to adjust spending and rethink priorities.
Are supermarkets using tech to cope or maybe keep prices down?
They're definitely exploring it. AI for better inventory management, more self-checkout to manage labor costs, maybe even dynamic pricing, adjusting prices based on demand.
How are shoppers changing their habits?
We're seeing shifts. More people opting for store brands, using coupons and discount apps heavily, buying in bulk if it saves money, and hitting discount retailers more often.
The idea of greedflation came up too, corporate profits driving prices.
Yeah, that's the argument that some companies might be using inflation as cover to raise prices more than their costs necessitate, boosting profits. Proposed solutions range from tougher antitrust enforcement to windfall taxes or anti-price gouging laws.
Sounds like a complex debate. Can big data help us understand it?
Definitely. Analyzing scanner data from checkouts allows for really detailed, up-to-the-minute price tracking. It gives a much clearer picture of inflation trends and consumer behavior, than older methods.
And if these high prices stick around, what's the bigger economic picture?
Sustained high grocery prices can dampen the whole economy. If people spend more on essentials like food, they have less left for other things. That can slow down consumer spending overall and potentially hinder economic growth.
Okay, our final topic. Pescatarian versus vegetarian diets discussed in Rolling Out. Nutritionally, what's the main difference?
The big one is fish. Pescatarians eat fish, vegetarians don't. Fish provides those really important omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, great for heart and brain health. Vegetarians can get some omega-3s from plant sources, but not readily EPA and DHA without supplements or algae.
But vegetarian diets have other strengths.
Oh yes, typically high in fiber, vitamins, minerals from all the plants. Both diets, if well planned, are generally considered very healthy.
What about their environmental footprints?
They differ. Pescatarian is usually lower impact than heavy meat diets, but overfishing is a major concern. Vegetarian diets typically have an even lower carbon footprint, though some plant agriculture has its own issues, like deforestation for certain crops.
The commentary linked plant-based diets to preventing kidney disease.
Yes, research suggests plant-predominant diets might lower the risk of chronic kidney disease, possibly because they put less strain on the kidneys than high animal protein diets, and plants are full of protective antioxidants.
If parents are considering a vegetarian diet for kids, what should they watch out for?
It can be perfectly healthy but needs careful planning. Key nutrients to monitor are vitamin B12, mostly from animal sources, iron, zinc, and those EPA omega-3s. Fortified foods and potentially supplements, guided by a doctor or dietitian, might be needed.
Is tech helping people manage plant-based nutrition?
It's starting to. There are tools emerging, like apps using image recognition that try to estimate the nutritional content of meals from photos. Helps people track intake and spot gaps.
What are the most common deficiencies in strict vegetarian diets and how to fix them?
B12 is a big one. Need fortified foods or supplements. Iron from plants isn't absorbed as well, so need vitamin C-rich foods alongside iron sources. Calcium from fortified plant milks, leafy greens. Omega-3s from flax, chia, walnuts, or algae supplements. Variety and maybe fortification supplements are key.
And lastly, has the rise of pescatarianism affected fish consumption globally?
It's definitely contributed to the overall increase in global fish consumption, which, while providing nutrition, raises those serious sustainability questions about overfishing and the health of our oceans. It really highlights the need for consumers to choose seafood responsibly.
Well, that wraps up another deep dive. We've covered a lot, from plastic tech to cottage cheese trends, allergies, finance, and diets, all sparked by the latest Consumers 360 commentary. Quite the journey through the consumer landscape.
It really is valuable to connect these dots, isn't it? To see how our choices as consumer ripple out.
And leaves us with a final thought for you, our listener. Considering this complex web grocery prices, beauty ingredients, dietary impacts, what seemingly small consumer habit or trend happening right now do you think might have surprising, far-reaching consequences down the road? Something to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.